Okay, welcome back to another Between the Pages book chat. And today we have erotic romance author Laura Tolomei with us, and she's here to talk about her Virtus saga. I hope I got that right. And I'll turn it over to her now and let her introduce herself. So take it away.
Hi there. Very happy to be here, first of all. So thank you for hosting me. And thank you for any readers that have checked in and are following this chat. I'm Laura Tolomei, and I've been a writer now for about, most of my life, actually, since I started writing in high school. But I haven't done it, let's say, professionally until I was about 40 years old, which is about 15 years ago. And that's when I really started writing books and getting published and released, always through a publisher. I've never been self-published because I always submitted my works to renowned publishers, both in and out of internet. So I've always had the backup of a publisher. I'm Italian, by the way, and I chose to write in English because I know I can reach a broader audience in English than I can in Italian. But I've also tried my hand in writing a few books in Italy, in Italian, I mean, and they didn't go so well because the publishing industry in Italy isn't, how to say it, all that open to newcomers. Whereas in writing in English, I've had a lot more chances with publishers all around the world. And I found the publishing industry in the US, in Canada, and also in England, and even in Australia. They are much more open, to let new authors try their hand and, maybe back them up at least at the beginning to see how it goes. And right now, my main publisher is Ecstasy Books, which is based in Canada. And I've written, yes,
My
exactly.
home
And
country. My home country.
exactly, that's why. And I've written several romances for Ecstasy Books, including this Virtus Saga, and which were, I'd like to explain also a little bit why it's not just romance, it's also erotica. And I chose to write in this genre because I think it's the best way to portray, you know, characters and no, mostly the troubles that afflict a lot of humanity lately, which is, conventions, how society tries to dictate, to give you rules on how to live your life, how to make your sexual choices, or how to get in the way of your sexual orientations. And there's a whole lot of crap going on, I think, all around the world. I mean, in all countries, not just where I lived in Italy, or here in Spain, where I recently moved because I got kind of fed up of Italy. And so I address these particular themes in my books, trying to tell people that I think they can be free, free to to make their choices as they want, and not be afraid, of the consequences. Just try to live their life as they want it, not as society or someone else's wants them to live, just because it's an accepted convention or it's tradition or it's custom, or you know what I mean. And
Yeah.
right, and that's the basis of the Virtus Saga, because there are it's all based on three characters, and they will find love and and the purpose of their lives by sticking together, by being together, and in the end forming. I'm not going to say a couple because there are three, but a union. They end up marrying each other, and this is what my philosophy is all about. It's my thought that you can basically live your life with whomever you like, however many you like to, and be happy, and really be happy, and really have close, very, very, very close relationships, regardless of what others might think or what society might think.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about the book, what it's about, the characters, that sort of thing.
Well, okay, the entire series is about 9 books, and it starts off with the first one, which is Virtus Sex, and it's a dark fantasy, so it's all a world of my creation and of my building, and in this world, it there is a society that it's about strictly. I'm not going to say rigid, but let's say class oriented. So there are servants, there are lords, there are princes, there are, and each one has its own role in the society, and they never cross lines. It's a peaceful society, and the, everybody's got what they need. There are no people that are dying of hunger of anything. But the strange thing is that nothing is actually advancing. There are no technological advancements. There are no new discoveries. There are no scientific breakthroughs. Nobody's really studying. They're just living their lives fine. I mean, and they're content with what they have, let's say. They don't want to produce more, like in the farming industry. They don't want to do more, or they just do enough to live, everybody to live, let's say, without any hardship. And in this world we have this is where my first character is, and he's a prince, and he's how do you say? We start off with him who's losing his way home from having visited a nearby town, and he meets up with with a woman whom he doesn't recognize, but she looks exactly like him, like like she could be his twin or something. And from there, we learn that she had actually grown up with him and had been, let's say, one of his childhood companions, until at one point he totally forgot about her. And so he's intrigued. He takes her in, and soon after he takes her in, we learn that he has been, how do you say it? He forgive me. I'm
That's
getting
okay.
myself I'm getting myself lost in wanting to say everything and all at once. Let's say he starts a certain type of relationship with her, even though she's she's a servant. Like I said before, there's a class. A class breakdown, and she's at the lower end of of the class, obviously. And but still he's intrigued, so he takes her in, and then we learn that he's actually in love with someone else entirely, with a man whom he's loved since he was, let's say, a teenager, and that he has grown close, very very close to, in the last few years. And from there, it starts a whole adventure from which this prince will become actually the leader of the entire planet. So the person with the most power. And he learned that his world is actually this perfect, no hunger zone world, with everybody very happy, everybody having a lot of sex. And so nobody's complaining, nobody's dying of hunger of anything. But behind all this facade, there's actually something very sinister going on, because it's like their time has been stopped and crystallized at a certain moment, and there's no going forward. There's no advancement, and he learns that there's something like a device that is actually controlling them all. It's controlling the world, it's controlling the people, and it's controlling the sex. And from there on, he will make it his mission to destroy the device without destroying the world in the process, because it's so ingrained in the people that shutting it down or getting rid of it risks to blow up the place, practically. So that's that's a story, let's say, in 5 minutes time, but it's 9 books. So
Yeah, yeah, it's
mine
hard to
books have,
condense, isn't it? But it
yes.
does. It sounds very intriguing, and it's got some nice fantasy along with the romance, which is cool. So, tell us a little bit about the characters. What are their personalities like?
Well, there's a very dominant character that is this Prince Duncan Caldwell. He knows what he wants. He knows, he's made up, he's made up his mind, about who he is and who he wants to be, and he's a very fair person. He likes also to be unconventional, because he would like in his mind to break down these class distinctions, and have everybody a more fluid society where it isn't so rigid or structured. The woman that he finds, and that he eventually takes in, is Eleanor, and Eleanor Meyer, and he learns that she's the daughter of a servant of of this family, and he also learns that her father, I mean, not her father, his father, had been quite taken with her when she was a little girl. That's why they grew up together in his estate, and his father has also made her study with him, and she's a very not very beautiful but very spirited young woman. She's also, kind of um, she she doesn't exactly know what she wants to be, but she knows what she doesn't want to be. Let's put it this way. And then there's his lover, Christopher Templeton. He's a beautiful man, and but he's very jealous, very jealous of Eleanor, very jealous of anybody getting close to his lover, and he will fight her every step of the way. In this mix that is explosive enough as it is, I also put in that they have special powers, because this is another thing of this world, that people can have, let's say, magical powers. So, for example, Christopher Templeton is a healer, and but he's also a destroyer, because healing and destroying, I mean, they kind of go hand in hand. So he's like this, he can turn himself into this big fire, and this big fire can either heal or destroy things. uh, Eleanor Meyer is a mind reader, for example, and she can read minds of people she can connect to. So not of everyone, but only those people whom are receptive, let's say, to her power. And she can have head talks with them, and learn their feelings by looking at their auras. So she sees all lights around people, and she can interpret their feelings, what their sensation is, just by looking at them. And Prince Caldwell, he'll be the most powerful of all, of course, because he's also going to become the leader of the planet. And he has very different powers. But the most important one is that he can balance forces. So when there are opposite forces, or when there is, let's say, good and evil, he can find a way to to balance them out, and reduce the risk of of conflict, or things, or dramatic things. So they aren't just interesting characters; they have also very uh, definite powers that they'll use, and that the situation, but also their intimate story will force them to use, even if they didn't want to. And these powers are also the same thing that are going to bring them closer. Because in the end, the solution, I mean, the only real solution, is that they work together and defeat the evil that is behind their world, and that is orchestrating everything, and has been orchestrating everything behind the scenes. So
Okay, so what was the hardest type of scene or the hardest scene for you to write in the series?
The hardest things. Well, I'll tell you what. The whole story was really very okay. It wasn't hard to write, but I didn't have it clear in my mind. You know, there are some authors that start out and they know exactly how they're going to begin, how it's going to go in the middle, how it's going to end. And they usually make a small synopsis or, something to guide them during the process of writing, and and end up exactly where they wanted to end up. For me, it was very different because I didn't know where I was going. I mean, I started with certain scenes running through my head, and I just wrote them down. And from there, it started the story. But it wasn't like I knew where I was going. It was strange, but believe me, this is what happened. It was like the characters were telling me the story, and I was writing it along as they told it. So it wasn't like I knew where they'd go. They knew where they were going, and eventually they took me there. And I'll tell you why also. The thing I was telling at the beginning, that when the prince meets the woman, meets Eleanor, he doesn't recognize her, but she's grown up with him. I mean, she was his best friend until she was until he was 10 or 11 years old. So how could it be possible that he doesn't remember her? Well, you wouldn't believe it, but I came to the why after 3 books. So at the fourth book, I understood why he didn't remember. But I swear I didn't know it at the first book. And this is just one example of the things that I went through in the writing process that seem unbelievable, but really, those are the explanations they gave me in the end.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta listen to the characters. So,
Yes,
do you
exactly.
have a favorite scene that you wrote in the series?
Do I have a favorite?
Scene.
Um, well, there are many, but I think one of my favorite scenes is at the end of the saga, when they've uncovered what is the evil behind everything that has been happening on the planet, and they go to confront him. And there is a scene where Christopher Templeton tries to handle things by himself. He gets shot down, and he's about to die. And this is one of the things, this is another scene that I knew I had to write, but I didn't know why. I really didn't know why I wanted him, to get that close to death. And in the end, this is something that my husband explains to me. I mean, he read it all. He was with me every step of the way. He read all the books, and he gave me his comments. He told me, what worked, what didn't. So I changed it. He also had the idea for all the covers. So he was really invaluable in all this writing process. And the thing about Christopher Templeton almost dying, it was because he was still, let's say, immature. He had to go through, the process of getting shot, almost dying, in order to really mature, to become an adult, and finally accept the union that they had been forming in all the other 8 books. So it was kind of, I had to do it. I mean, I had to put the character in that situation. Otherwise, he would have never really grown up. But this I didn't understand. I mean, I didn't know this either. And he explained it to me, and it was, one of those moments of revelations. I said, because I told him, I said, I keep thinking that I have to write this. I didn't want to, because I hate killing off my characters. I don't want to kill off my characters. I get so attached to them that I never want to see them die. And but I knew how to do it, and in the end, he told me why, and he was right. It was exactly like that. So that was really, this is really the scene that most remains in my mind.
Okay, so do you have a favorite character in the series?
Uh yes, it's Christopher Templeton, the jealous, beautiful lover who would fight for his lover every inch of the way. He'd lock him up if he could, because he reminds me of many people. Many people that are jealous, or that believe that a little bit of jealousy is good for a relationship. Well, it's never good. I mean, jealousy is never good for, not for a relationship and not for a person, because it brings you to assume that the person belongs to you. And the whole point of the saga is to say, listen, people don't belong to one another. I mean, they choose to stay together because there are emotions involved, there's a friendship, there's a close connection, there's whatever work. I mean, it could be whatever reason, but no one owns another human being. And jealousy, unfortunately, makes you think that you do. Partly because most people say, if there isn't jealousy, if you aren't jealous, how do you know you love him or love her? And they make this their justification, and it isn't. It just isn't, because this just brings you on a very dark path. And I don't know about Canada, but in Italy, there are unfortunately many men who kill their women, their wives, their girlfriends, their fiancés, sometimes their whole families, just because they think they're jealous, then and that they own them, and so if she steps out of line, well, there's a punishment, and sometimes the punishment is death. So I really, this is one battle that I try to fight in my books, because jealousy is never ever good, can only bring really tragedy in relationships, in people's lives, and everything.
Yeah, that's too true. There's too many incidents of jealousy turning violent.
Yes, yes, and that's why Christopher Templeton, because he's he's very jealous at the beginning, and he will keep being jealous, but slowly he understands that having another person in his relationship isn't going to take nothing, anything away from him. It's just an addition, something more to their relationship, instead of being something less. Because people are always afraid, that if they give the loved one the freedom that they that they're owed, because everybody should be free, they believe that they're going to misuse this freedom, or that they meet someone else, and and eventually leave them, or they have actually, their jealousy is just a fear of abandonment. And that was it with Christopher Templeton too. He had this ingrained fear that if his lover loved someone else, he'd leave him, and that wasn't the case. And this is, I mean, my story proves this, but I mean, even in real life, it's not necessarily so, because other people make you grow. And if you really believe in your relationship, other people are only going to make you closer to the person you love, not farther away. And if the person goes farther away, it's because most of the time there wasn't nothing to keep them close in the first place. See? And well, at least that's my belief, and that's what I try telling my readers, or at least putting in my stories.
Okay, so besides romance, is there any other genre that you've written in or would like to write in?
Yes, as I said, tried my hands writing two books in Italian, and they were quite different genres. One of them was about an investigator who is a cat. So I wrote a whole book about this cat who finds a murdered victim, and he
Okay,
tries
you're a
to
little off camera. Could
uh,
yeah.
like
Okay,
this.
thank you.
Okay,
We're losing
sorry.
you there.
No, 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 sorry.
Okay.
And he tries to help the police to solve the crime. And of course, he doesn't talk, and he just meows. And so the focus of the book is how is the cat going to tell the police, who the murderer is, because he finds out who it is, and also with the help of his other cat friends, but also with some dogs who live in his neighborhood. And um, and it's a really cute tale for young adults, but also for adults, who want to who love cats, animals in general, and want to have some fun time reading. So that's a genre I tried, and it was very nice writing it. Also because it was based on my cats, actually, because I love cats and I live with four of them. So one of my previous cats was is the main character of the book, and he was helped by his other three friends. Other and then I wrote another book, which is Little 5 Points, and that's more about me. So it's all focused about me and my experience in growing up in the United States, and how I found it, very, very different from Italy, which is the place I was born in, and I lived for not a long time, but um, because I actually grew up in Africa, in Nigeria. But still, Italy is my reference point, also because my family is Italian. And so, all the values and traditions and everything relating, to Italian families and such uh, got transferred to me. And I couldn't help noticing how different they were from the American values. The way families grow up in the U.S. is totally different from the way families grow up in Italy. The way parents relate to their children, relate to their schools, it's a whole bunch of differences. And that's what my book was about. This young girl going to her first year in at the university, and so living on her own for the first time, and finding out, exploring this new world, actually, and finding, comparing, finding, differences in what she liked and what she didn't like. And it was kind of, I'm not going to say a memoir, because that wasn't it. It was still fiction, but very close to one.
Yeah. Fiction inspired by real life.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so I think we'll wrap it up here, and I'd like to thank you
Okay.
for coming on and chatting with us today.
Thank you.
And
Thank you
why
for
don't you
having me.
tell everyone where they can find you and your books?
I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Amazon. On Amazon, you can find all my books, both the Italian ones and the English one, in case you're interested. I also have a site, and it's lalagatta.com. And well, that's basically it. I mean, for sure, you can find me in the internet.
Yes, and I should have at least one link in the description when this goes up, so
Okay.
you can check out her books there. And again, thank you for being here, and that's it for today and Between the Pages book chat. So bye for now.
Bye bye.